Hello guys, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back. This is part 17 of this build of this beautiful little kit, and this could be the last. This could be the final part. So, thank you for following along. Thank you for sticking with me. At the moment, I've only put out a couple of parts, and there's been a couple of comments about perhaps this is too advanced. Yes, I'm fully aware that I have sort of taken it a little bit more advanced. I think really, as a full out sort of beginner, youngster first build starter set, this is probably a little bit of an advanced kit for them, which is probably not what I said in the beginning. But basically, I've sort of turned this into I've called it a beginner's build, but it's more of a sort of newbie's build, and you want to go a little bit further, this is how we do it. So anyway, it's all fun, isn't it? It's all you don't unless you're one of my patrons or whatever, you don't pay for it, so it doesn't matter, does it really? I'm not letting you down. So right, since the last video, which I made about 3 or 4 days ago, I've given this a very quick clear coat, just to seal all the decals in and everything, as I said I would. And if you look now, you can see, if you look close up, you can see the decals kind of part of the surface now. There's no hard edge. You can see an edge there, and you can also see around there where that photo etched brass is, around those vents where the decal's pulled down and everything. You will also see that in here, you can see there's some bits of dust and stuff where I've managed to just, because I've thrown a clear coat on, I've got some dust on it. So what we can do then, we can take what should I take here? 1000 grit. I've got 1000 grit Infini stick here, something nice and hard. We can get some water, because with these Matadors, you can use them wet. So it's not a problem. Just a drop of water down there. Just put some water on there, and then we can sand away and just remove any flecks of dust or anything that's on there. And as you can see, because we've got the clear coat, we're safe to go over the decals. And then we can just sand it smooth. It's like if you look here, you will see, and here, there's a couple of bits of dust there. So a bit of water, just gently rub away with the 1000 grit. Gone. So it's that simple. So don't really make too much of a fuss and worry about dust and everything. If it's a model car, same thing. You got some dust in it, just sand it out. If you get dust in the clear coat, same thing. You just might want to go a little bit smoother than 1000 grit. It's going to take you longer, but you don't want to go putting any marks in it. But whereas this is going to get a flat coat and weathering and washes and all sorts, we're not really too fussed about it. So there we go. So that's that. Now the next thing we've got to do is spray the red on these hatches here. Okay, and I also want to do some weathering on the decal, because the thing is, we've got this sort of, if you remember, I did this, you can just see it under here. We've got that sort of lighter green in between the panels and the darker green above it. The camera is making it look a lot more obvious than it really is, believe me. And you can see it on the sides there where it's the vertical. So we're going to do the same sort of thing with the decal. We're going to sort of have like a darker line going across here. Okay, but to do that, we need to be able to mask it. So obviously the colours that we're going to put on the decal, obviously the red and the white, we don't want to get onto the green. So we need to make a mask to go around the decal. So what I do, I take a compass. I was going to use my circle cutter. I've got a circle cutter here, which is like the display type thing you can see in there. And I'll show you that in a minute perhaps. But simple compass. You get these for about £5 from anywhere. And they're great for doing stuff like this. And what I do is, rather than cutting masking tape, I get a piece of scrap paper and cut circles. As you can see, I've already done it, so I didn't have to bore you with it. So you can see I did the first one here. And, oh yeah, it's too big. So I did another one here. Oh, it was about right, but it's a touch too small. So I did another one here. And I've gone too big again. And I've done another one here. And that's just too big. I've done another one here, and that seems to be about spot on. So then I leave the compass on that setting and then cut some masking tape. Now you can get sheets of masking tape, and I have got one here, or a couple of that Jason from Aussie Scale Modeler sent me, and I can't find them. he sent me some lovely masking tapes, which I haven't yet used because I haven't had a chance to open them, or I need to open them. You can see here he sent me, this is an Icky Sticky 40mm masking tape, and here is a series of masking tapes he sent me in all the different sizes, and you can see the 18mm has come out of the packet, which we don't want because you do not want to keep your masking tapes out in the atmosphere or anything. It's another beginner's tip. Masking tape, the edge is sticky, so if you leave your masking tape out or you put it in a dusty drawer or something, you'll never get a nice clean sharp line when you try and do masking. So always keep your masking tape put away in a box or sealed or something. If you get Tamiya tapes, you get these things to put them in so it keeps the dust off them. So there we go. Right, so I've actually made the mask, and what I did, I've laid down strips of 1 inch wide masking tape on the bench, gone round with the compass, cut it out, and I've made a circle now. I've made a mask. So we can drop this on here. There's no dust under it. So we can drop this on here, just like so. Make sure it's correctly positioned. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but as good as you can get it. Okay, so we can lay that down on there, rub that around. That went down extremely well considering the camera was on. Normally something like that would take me 3 or 4 goes, as you know. So what we can do now, excuse me, we can mask off the white bits, okay, and we can do the red, and then we can put some sort of distressing into it. We use some light greys and stuff and do some fading. So what I'm going to do now is mask off the red. So if we get some, what should we use? Some 18mm? Let's use some 18mm masking tape. I think that'll be wide. Yeah, that'll be wide enough. And what I'm going to use is my Infini cutting mat. These things are amazing. What they're really good at is when you want nice square corners. So lay that on there. It doesn't need to be perfect. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut a straight groove in there, just like so. Okay, get rid of that into my little bin, and then what I can do is cut across there, and I'm going to cut across. How long's that there? Let me get a rule. So that there is 20mm. So these lines on here are 5. So I want 4 of those lines. So that one there across there. And then another 4. No, I don't want 4, do I? I don't need 4. Yeah, we'll do another 4. And then we'll have a little one here. Okay, and we'll get rid of that bit of tape on the end there. And we'll get rid of that bit of tape on the end there. Come on, just like so. There we go. So there we are. So we can now get this tape. The other thing that's worth remembering to do is just with a pencil, not a pen, is just mark. Oh dear, I have to use a pen so you can see it. I'm just going to mark the side that's cut. Okay, or you can cut all sides, but so now I know that this side is square. That side won't necessarily be square. So I've still got this stinking cold, guys, so I'm going to keep turning the camera off and on again. So we can come in here and mask into there, into that corner. You want to get this as good as you can. Okay, so there we have that corner masked. And I'm going to mask the whole red cross because I don't have Humbrol number 60, which is the one they're telling us to use. And the decal manufacturer, probably Airfix, may have been Academy, would have matched their red perfectly to the Humbrol 60, which I don't have. So that's that one in. So we'll make another couple of those. And then we've got our scrap bits of masking tape on here, so I can take that down there and cut that down there. I can use that along this edge. So what I'm going to do is spray it with my Tamiya XF7, which is a flat red. Yeah, spray it with Tamiya XF7, which is a flat red, and then because I can paint the whole thing or fade the whole thing or whatever, then I know we'll get a good match. So the difference will be, there's probably a difference in the colours, but it won't be strong enough difference to show when we look at sort of that one compared to that one. So I'll get the rest of this masked up the same by just doing each corner, and then I'll be back. Right, so we've got the dirty mat out, so you know we're going to do some painting. That's all masked up. Got this piece of masking tape here just over the roof just to cover it. When you're doing masking like this, take the masking tape, stick it on your arm. Don't put it where there's hairs because you just pull hairs off. Just to sort of tack the masking tape a bit, and then that will just stick on there just very, very lightly. And it's no more than a post-it note, really, just to cover up, just to protect it from any overspray. So I've already checked the flow on the airbrush. I've got XF2 white in here, Tamiya, it's heavily thinned with Tamiya thinners. So we just try a bit on there, just make sure it's okay. And what I'm doing, I'm just going to spray some white onto these filter boxes. Okay, because when you try and spray red over any other colour, it's very difficult to cover, and really the best undercoat you can have for red is yellow, and the best undercoat you can have for yellow is white. So what I should probably do is, once I've done this, I should probably spray them yellow, and then we should get that nice red colour coming through. What I'm going to do is just do this one here. As you can see, I'm laying the paint on very slowly, otherwise you can see I've got what's happened there. There's a little bit of a pool appeared. So be really careful. When you've got the paint so thin, you get you have the risk of getting pools. The trouble is with white, if you have it too thick, it's very, very grainy. So painting white is it can be a nightmare unless you use some of the the solvent-based paints. I didn't want to do that because they absolutely stink. So there we go. Then what I'm going to do here is just with the white is come along, just spray some of the white into the centre of the red areas, and that will give us like a faded effect to make our cross look a bit faded. When we spray it red, it'll look good. Again, it's artistic license. Would it fade more on the edge? Probably not, because the edge would probably be thicker, because when they paint it they would take more care around the edge than they would in the middle. So it's just artistic license. But we'll do this on that one and that one because they're on the roof, and then we'll do sort of a similar thing on the sides, but we'll just use some very, very thin white paint and fade them down. But I'm going to do streaking and everything as well. So there we go. So on the sides, what we can do is just take this tape away. I should have detacked this tape a bit more first. What we can do here is, taking a real gamble now, just very, very lightly. You can see it's a bit spattery. I think I need a new nozzle for this airbrush. You can see that I've just taken away the brightness of the red. Yeah, white is a nightmare colour to paint, especially if you're using Tamiya. I'm just going to give the airbrush a clear out. That'll just give us that faded effect, and when we actually come to do weathering and streaking and stuff, it'll look much, much better, believe me. And then we can do the same on here while we've got the white in the airbrush. Just roll that back, and then is the problem. You see it's starting to block in the nozzle. There we go, that's better. So what a pain, it's starting to spit. It's really annoying when it spits. What I need to do is thin the paint some more, or use some lacquer thinners. The beauty of using this Tamiya thinner is I can come along with a wet cotton bud and just rub it off, just like so. So there we go. So we'll leave that to dry, and then I'll get some yellow on her. I think I'm going to throw this away and I'll get some white mixed up with some solvent paints and go from there. Okay, so you can see there I've done the yellow, and that went absolutely fine. It does seem to be that with airbrushing, as soon as I put the camera on, it all goes wrong. So we'll see what happens now. Now I've got the Tamiya XF7, which is the bright red in the Tamiya colours, and it looks a little bit on the dark side to me. It looks a little bit too red. So I've literally put like a dab, literally a cocktail stick full of yellow in there, just to let it back a bit. So we will see how it goes. Right. So a little test on there. I think on the airbrush you have on the end, you will see you have the needle sticking out there. Okay, and the needle pulls inside, and inside there is the nozzle, and I've got a feeling that this airbrush is 10 or 12 years old. I can't remember now. But I know I got it between 2010 and 2013, so it's 11 or 12 years old. And I've never replaced a single part, and I think the nozzle, the actual nozzle that the needle goes into, I think is stretched, and it's because I am getting a lot of spattering even though my paint is very thin. So I think I'll have to invest in a new nozzle. Problem with that is this being Iwata, absolutely amazing airbrush. I think they're the best. I love them to bits. But when you think a nozzle for this is like 50 quid, this Bart Sharp here with 3 different needles, 3 different nozzles, 3 different cups is 50 quid. So, you know, you pays your money, it takes your choice. But for big stuff, I think that Bart Sharp is absolutely great. So we're going to see how this goes. Again, we can see it's a little bit spattery. I want to concentrate first of all on getting these filter housings or whatever they are, get them painted. If you notice, I just keep my finger on the air, I don't let off. Reason being is every time you let off there's a risk of spattering, so I don't let off. So that's our housings there in red. It just needs another coat on it. There we go. So now I'm just going to lightly spray the red cross. And we may see some of the white and the yellow coming through. I think this is going to look really good, so I may need to do all of them like this. You can just see on there the white coming through, and it's got that sort of faded, blotchy look to it, which is what I want. I'm just using air now just to dry those filters or vents or whatever they are. So that's our cross done on the roof. So we'll leave that to dry. And then we'll see how it looks when it's all unmasked. Right, so I've done the cross now with the red, and as you can see I decided to do all the others as well. So I've gone round, made the circular mask, put them round, and as you can see on there, sprayed them, and I'm glad I did, because it turns out that decal on that door didn't pull down very well, so we've got paint in it now, so that looks much better. So now we can unmask the actual in fact, on the doors I didn't do the circle, so we can unmask the cross. I didn't make a mask for the circle. In fact, I don't know why I've made a mask for the circle in the other areas, to be honest. But I'll tell you what, let's put that down. Let's unmask the bit that we were talking about so you can see what we're doing. So we'll get under here with some tweezers. Just get rid of this tape, and then we'll see how because it's the air, the filter vents on the roof thing we're looking at, isn't it? That's what we want to see. Okay, we've got a little bit of paint gone underneath there, so that's okay. That's where the tape didn't go down tight over the photo etch. So we can just touch that in. And this is something you probably won't have seen before, maybe even the more experienced modelers among you, is overpainting decals. It's something I've done a few times. It's often on car kits, often on cars where you've got very difficult curves and stuff to cover, and the decals just refuse to go down. You can sometimes, sometimes a decal company will make we've all seen it where it's got to go down like over the front wing of a Porsche or something. They make the decal like that, so it all sort of comes together, but then you end up with all these join lines, so you kind of see it, you sand it, you put the decal on, clear coat it, sand it, get it flat, and then paint it again. But you can see there a little imperfection there on that corner, and a little imperfection there. But other than that, we've got the red cross now, and it's all the same colour, and it all looks like it's been painted at the same time. We can do the same on here. In fact, I may as well cut this off because it's getting on my bloody nerves. This tape on the top, so that can go. There we go. And then here we'll get rid of these end pieces. And then my plan is to do some weathering on the white. And what I'm hoping is I'll do the weathering so lightly that I'll be able to blend it into the red, so it all looks like it's sort of all weathered and faded in one time, because obviously the red you wouldn't get streaking on the red in one place and then streaking on the white in another. It would all streak together. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is get the effect of it all streaking together. So just push that masking tape down at the top. So there we go. So you can see now we've got matching crosses. I was a little bit concerned that it wouldn't match, and I did get the feeling that the decal was perhaps a little bit too orange. Don't know. We shall see. But I should probably just touch that in there with a little bit of white paint, and we're good to go. So there we are. So I'm going to unmask the rest of it and then come back and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to try something here that I haven't tried for a while, so it may go wrong. And as you can see, the model's here, there's been no practicing done. I've got a piece of paper here full of holes, just to test on there. And what this is here is Tamiya XF55, XF55 DAC Tan, and it's literally about 95% thinner. So as you can see, come here paper, as you can see, it just leaves a stain. And what I'm going to try and do is depict bleaching from the sun on these red crosses. So wish me luck, let's give it a go. So I'm just going to start, scratch my nose. In fact, I need to cover up. I don't want any of this getting on the green paint, because I want it to look like I don't want it to look like fading in general. I want it to look like bleaching because of the bright colours. So I've got a bit there as well I haven't covered up. Duh. Talk about unprepared, eh? Sorry guys. Right, so I'm going to see if I could just achieve like a bleaching effect. Just by fading it back. It's also going to tarnish the white. And hopefully you can see there is a very, very subtle difference between those two. And the white is taken on a bit of a darker hue. So you can come a bit closer. kind of streak it almost. But because the paint's so thin, we can play with it. Okay, do the same on the side here. Now on the side, if you remember, I had the light panel, so what I'm going to do is try and depict this where the light panels were. Okay, so I can see, literally if I get it right in the light, I can see where I'm painting because it's shiny. See that? I can see where it's painted because it's shiny, because it's wet. Look at that, I've got some colour bleaching there, I've got some colour bleeding. Isn't that weird? Just wipe that away. It looks like I put it on too wet and it's actually dissolving the clear coat, so we'll go a bit lighter on this side. There we go. I didn't think that would happen because it's been, you know, like a good 3 or 4 days since this was clear coated, and that has actually attacked the paint underneath. That's okay, we can blend that in with some weathering. So we'll do the same here on the roof. I just want to cover up that bonnet and de-tack the tape for fear of damaging that decal. Excuse me. I'm just gonna, and it's just basically knocking back the brightness of the white and the red. You can see now the difference between that there and that there. You can see it's a subtle difference. The subtlety is what it's all about. And here I'm gonna lay this down to knock it all back, I think. And then I think I shall go where we've got the lighter panel colours in between those ribs. Just put some more in there, and then some more down the middle, and then some more down that side. And I think from the comments I've been reading in previous videos, I think this is something you love, is when I show you stuff like this where I mess up, and that's where I've put too much on. And it's actually attacked it and made the red flow into the white. That's really interesting. But anyway, I might just mask that off and just touch it up, because it does look like a cock up. That I can't make that, you know, look like a bit of weathering. So there we are. So I'm happy with that. I think I'll just put a bit more here. So obviously the roof is going to get the most sun. I think that's looking pretty good. I don't think you can see it as well on the camera as I can see it in the real life. It's really knocked it back. So we can see now how that looks when it's all unmasked. Everybody loves an unmasking. Let's just pull this off. There we go. In fact, I'll leave that on because I'm going to do some more work with that white. It's another beauty of putting the clear cut on after the decals. They're sealed in so you can mask over them and have confidence you're not going to do any damage. He says, I'll probably rip some decal off now. But there we go, there's our crosses, which, as I said, I brought the red out because I wanted to, and then I've toned them back because I think the kit decals were too orange. We'll see how these look. There we go. So there we are. Right, happy with that. I'm just going to do a little correction on that now off camera. What I'm going to do is mask the red and I'll spray a bit of white around there, so you don't need to see that, and I'll be back. Right, there we go, that side's all repaired now. You can see it's a little yellower than those, but that's okay because the side's going to get dusty anyway. So there we go, got the back doors glued on, and no, I haven't glued them on. You can see here I haven't glued them on. Wow, they fit really well. So I think it's about time we got this thing unmasked, because what we're going to do now is start putting on some oils and washes and that, and I want to make sure that all the edges are good before I start doing any of that. So we'll get this unmasked and then you can have a look, because as I said just now, everybody loves an unmasking. There's my tweezers. That's like that song in it from years ago, was it? Where's my tweezers? Where's my tweezers? What was the song? Where's me? I can't think of it. I'm sure somebody can say in the comments. Pull that foam out of there. As you can see, the foam has protected all the inside. Pull that tape off from there. You can see we've got all the inside now is still dirty and everything. Don't take the window masks off yet. Don't take the window masks off until the very end. Okay, because what we're going to be doing is spraying clears and doing some more pigments probably, bits and pieces like that. We've got to paint these curtains as well. But obviously when it comes to spraying matte varnishes and stuff, you don't want anything getting on the windows. So there we go, and you can see now we've got the cab in there, still all nicely done. And then we'll take the masking off the back. Now this is going to be a crucial point to see how well this masking worked on the back here, because quite honestly I don't think it would have done a very good job, because there's nothing really to tape to. So I think we're probably going to have a lot of overspray in there. So pull that piece of foam out of there, pull that piece of foam out of there. There we go. There you go, you can feast your eyes on the inside again, see how it looks. And it looks like we may have been lucky. You were lucky, as they said in Monty Python. Was that song, Where's My Jumper? Yeah, it was Where's My Jumper? Where's My Jumper? Can't even think who it was by now. And if you're younger than me, which most of you are, you've probably never even heard of it. Oops. Some good news for you guys. I mean, you're watching this in the future. It is finally starting to get cold, so we will have more time at the bench, because I don't like going out in the cold. I've actually just taken Jess out, and it almost felt like there was a bit of frost in the air. So no doubt now, I mean today is November the 22nd, 2022, so no doubt now we'll have all the news broadcasters will be saying about people not being able to afford their heating and choosing between food and heating, and they just go on and on and on. Yep, it's hard times, yep, it's bad, and yet there's a lot of people in a really bad way. But do we really need to hear about it every single half an hour with their prophecies of £6,000 heating bills and all that? Right, so now you can see how the foam's worked, and I'm really happy with how that's come out around there. That's great. But yeah, you can see by using the foam and the masking tape, that's the kind of effect you can get. Excuse me. And there we are. I expect you want to see her with the wheels on, don't you? Where's the wheels? The wheels is over here, aren't they? Where's them wheels? Today is November the 22nd. Tomorrow, which is, go on, see if you can guess, November the 23rd, my Spitfire is arriving. There we are. We can see her now in all her glory with wheels. Make sure we get the right front and back wheels. There we go. So there she is before we start doing the weathering. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is give it a wash, give it a pin wash and highlight all the areas, and then I'm going to give it a matte coat. In fact, no, the first thing I'm going to do, I'll paint those there, those door curtains, and I'm going to paint those in XF59, I think it is, khaki, mixed with this one here, levelling thinner for brush painting, this one here, Modeller's World. I'm going to mix it with that, just a tiny touch of that in there, and that will make it brush lovely, because Tamiya paint is not good for brush painting. So I'll get that done and then I'll come back. So painted those now with the XF49, not XF59. So they're done now in the Tamiya khaki colour, and they've had a couple of hours to dry, so they're ready. So what I'm going to do now is give the model what's called a pin wash before I give it a coat of semi-gloss varnish. The reason I'm doing this now, when you here goes Jess. When you do a pin wash on a matte paint, as I showed you before, it kind of stains the paint and darkens it. I don't want to do that. I just want to highlight like the areas around the grill and stuff like that. And because this has got a clear coat on it, it will not stick to the model. So basically, if I put a black wash down there and it didn't have a gloss coat on it, you would get a staining around that line. If I put it on there with a gloss coat, I'll wipe it off and it'll just stay well, in fact, it'll probably just run down in the corners on its own. I'll show you on these grills, on these doors. So I'm going to take some of this is the Modeller's World Black Brown. So I'm going to put some of that in there. Okay. And then I've got here the Modeller's World Black, which I wouldn't normally use on something like this, but because it has a clear coat, I know that most of it is just going to disappear, because it will run into the corners because of the shiny coat. So I'm going to get some of this black, and I'm just going to literally, so you can see what I'm doing, I'm just going to tap it on there, and you'll see it run around. Excuse me guys, I got a cough again. Ugh. You'll see it run around there, and it won't stick to the surface. So if you remember when I did this before, you'll notice, you would have seen it darkened the area. Whereas with this, it's just literally running around the outside and it's not darkening the area at all. Okay, so I can leave that on there. I'm going to also go around this outer frame. I want to highlight every single line there is on the model, every single line, divot, bump, whatever. I just want to highlight it so it really shows up. There we go. And then I'm just going to put some around that handle area, but I've got to be very careful because that's got flat paint in it and it'll stain the surface. So I'm just going to grab my cotton bud and just wipe that away from the top. Just got that recess in there. There we go. Right. And then on here, around there, you can see it running around all the edges, and that's what I want it to do. I just want it to highlight all these edges. I don't know if you heard that then, but Jess just farted. No, it wasn't me. I can't make a squeak like that. If it was me, you'd hear it, I can tell you, you'd know it. There we go. So that's that. So as you can see now, if I put my brush down, you can see the effect we've got there. So the black has run around all those edges, and it's because the green is so dark, it's very subtle. And I'm going to let that semi-dry and then just go over the cotton bud and remove it. Now when it comes to the, I'm just going to remove some excess from there. When it comes to this khaki area here, I'm going to use the dark brown and just brush it on and let it form its own sort of pattern, if you like, and it will highlight the folds around the top. Run it into the corner down there, run into the corner down there. You can see it kind of, it's run into the pattern of the folded material. So there we go, just like that. Run that in there. Make sure we don't go over and mess up the interior that we've already done. So there we go. So that's that's those bits done. So all I've got to do now is go round now, do the rest. I think I'll try some of this brown on this rear step. I've got to try and rescue that from where I messed it up. But, there we go. We've got that on the step now, so that should help things a little bit. So let me get this out of the picture because it's messing up the white balance, isn't it? So there we go. I'm going to do some more now and then I'll be back. So we have Cotton Bud City here. So I'll get a fresh cotton bud. As you can see, I've been going over it and wiping away the oils. Now you can see here that we have black oil there, which has been left for probably, I don't know, 2 hours, something like that. But I can wipe away the cotton bud and remove the excess, just like that. You'll see it easier on this khaki piece here. I can wipe away and just leave the oil wash in the recessed areas, which I've shown you time and time again. But this is with a gloss coat, and it's as you can see, it's completely different with a gloss coat because it's, you can see it's coming off onto that white there. I wanted that to happen. You see the matte paint here and it's all streaking, and this is the difference. You see, with a gloss coat you can just wipe it away and it practically disappears. But with a matte coat, when you wipe it on, it changes the colour. You can see it all stuck on there, look. So there we go. Right, so what we can do there, where we've got the wash sticking in the matte coat, take some odourless thinners, a clean cotton bud, it needs to be clean, and just wet the cotton bud, and then what I'm doing is just tapping it on the paper towel just to remove the excess, and then gently wipe it off, just like so. And you can see you can blend it and turn it into a sort of dirty, distempered finish. And then just, you can see that you've got some dirt and streaking on there from the oil wash. So as you can see, coughing again, as you can see, very easy to do. Just wipe away the excess. It's really, really simple. You can see on the roof here where I've done the same thing as I did on the side, and I've basically taken the dark out of the areas and left the highlighted white on the high part, and then you've got darkness around that rib, and then it's streaked around there. In reality it would run away like this, so you could, with your damp cotton bud, you could streak that way, because it would, water and stuff would run that way. But as you see, it's not at all difficult, and you end up with this lovely sort of dirty grained finish. Now I haven't touched the front yet, but I'm just going to use, you can see how well it works on that star. You can just wipe away the oils, you see it coming off those letters, and it's just leaving the oil wash as a sort of detail enhancer, really, rather than it's not changing the colour of the green at all where it's on the gloss. Oh dear, this bloody cough is really getting me down. I've just been on the Ice Queen's live stream. It's Tuesday night, and Paul was said on there he's still got it. It's just going on and on and on. Still. Right. There we go, just wiping it away, rubbing it away. And I'm not really pushing hard, I'm just gently rubbing over the surface just to remove the excess. But at this stage of the game, we need to be very, very careful what we're doing, because the next part of this game is going to be giving it a coat of varnish. I'm going to use a Tamiya semi-gloss varnish. And what that's going to do, you can see how much this darkens this paint. Look at the colour of the paint there. And then look at the colour of the paint there where it's not got a clear coat on it. You see it darkens it very, very much. So there we go. So I'll just continue to rub around this now with this damp cotton bud, and then I'll come back. But you got to remember to get all this, do it as you want it to be, because once you put a clear coat over this, there's no going back. You can't go in and take it off once you've sealed it in. So do what I'm doing now. Make sure you're happy with what you're looking at, and that you're not going to want to change it, because as I say, once you put the clear coat on, that's it, it's over. Right, I'll see you in a minute. Right, so it's been about 24 hours. I've left it about 24 hours because whenever you use anything like a wash with oils or whatever, it's best to leave it to really, really dry out. And I've gone over it again with a cotton bud and just gone up and down. I'll show you just like so. Just keep it vertical, so any marks you leave are vertical. They can be excused for streaking, because once we put a flat coat on it, there'll be no going back. You can't do anything. Something I have just noticed, I have left that masking tape, where I put the masking tape over that battery, if you remember. I've left it on there, so we'll get that out. He says, we'll get that out. Probably been stuck down with paint. I'll get that out in a minute. Maybe the other side will come out. What I need to do is get a pointed tool and slide that down between the, and then it should just come out. Oh dear, it'll come out. I know it'll come out. We'll get it out, no problem. And I'm looking at, for what you can see, was it really worth painting those batteries? Probably not. I'll get those out in a minute. Right, so as I say, gone down, taken all the excess off, go around, have a really good look at it, make sure you're happy, make sure there's no excesses of the black oil left on there, because as I say, once you give it a clear coat, there's no going back. You can't go and remove it. All you can do is paint over it again and start again. So it's worth, you know, sort of going around good 3 or 4 times and having a good look, especially in areas like, you know, where you probably wouldn't have got the cotton bud or whatever. You can see the grill there looks lovely now because we've got that black wash in there. And yeah, really, really happy with how this has come out. So the next thing to do then is to get your, I've got this Tamiya model cleaning brush, which is an anti-static, removes dust and removes any static. So that's giving that a dust. And we can go over the whole model, and then what I'm going to do is give it a flat coat. Now I said I was going to use semi-gloss. I'm not. I'm going to use this one. This is LP23. It's a lacquer paint, so it stinks. You need an extractor, face mask, both, whatever. And this is flat clear. It's not actually dead flat. It's almost dead flat, which is great for weathering and stuff. Because what we're going to do next is start using some pigments and stuff and some oils, and we're going to streak it and stain it and do all sorts. And we want them to stick, and they won't stick onto a gloss or a semi-shiny surface. So I'm going to get it covered with that, let that dry, and then I'll come back. Okay, pushing forward, you can see we've got the actual main part of the ambulance there has now had that flat coat, and as you can see, it's got a very slight sheen to it. It's actually a very nice finish. As I say, that is the Tamiya LP23 flat clear. So it is very, very smelly. It's very, very toxic. It is a lacquer paint, a true lacquer paint, but it goes down really, really nicely, and it's a very, very good base for weathering because it has this slight matte sheen to it. It has a slight sheen to it, which you can actually rub stuff off if you want to, but it's also very, very tough. You saw I had the problem here where the thinner attacked the paint that was underneath. That probably wouldn't have happened if I'd coated it with this rather than the clear coat that I used. But actually no, it attacked the paint into the red paint as well. So basically, It's a very, very good paint. I have also gloss coated the wheels, and I used LP9 for that, or is it LP10? LP9, LP10 is the thinners, isn't it? LP9, which is the same stuff but in gloss, okay, and very, very nice indeed. One thing with the LP paints is worth remembering. I'm just going to show you something. Okay, when you look at LP paints, if you're new to the hobby, you may not know this. Here we have 3 black paints. They are all black. They're not rubber black, they're not tyre black, they're not coal black, they're all just black. And you can see this one says black, this one says semi-gloss black, and this one says flat black. With the LP paints, you can see here it says flat clear, this one says clear. If it just says orange, blue, green, red, black, whatever, it's gloss. Okay, it doesn't ever say gloss black, gloss white, it'll just say white. So if you are looking at buying your paints, it's like with the acrylic series, it's easy because you've got, like here we have X8, here we go, X8 is yellow, XF3 is yellow, X is gloss, XF, or it could be semi-gloss, but it's generally gloss, XF is flat, XF is for flat, so it says on there flat yellow, okay? But with the LPs, it doesn't say gloss, it only tells you if it's flat, but there's no X or F or anything. So just bear that in mind. So you got LP3 is flat black, LP1 is black, so that's gloss black, and LP5 is semi-gloss black. There you go. Herein endeth the lesson. Right, so yeah, as I said, I glossed them, and then I've given them some of the Modeller's World black, the same as I did on there, and then we'll let that dry, and then we'll just ground the cotton bud and get rid of that, and then we'll flat coat them as well, so they'll be the same. I should have done this the same time as I did that. Never mind. And there we go. That's the wheels with the black, and then they've had this this matte coat, which is actually like a semi-matte coat. So you can see that when we get those on, now we get the blue tack off, they're gonna look lovely. Make sure you get the right wheels front and back. So that's gonna go on there, that's gonna go on there. So you can see now we've got sort of a matching finish all over. I think I'll probably leave the wheels off for the weathering and put them on afterwards, because I want to do the tyres with a dead flat varnish, which I don't want to use on the rest of the vehicle. So I think we'll keep those off, we'll get those off that wood. So get that out of the way, and we've got them done. And I'm going to give the tyres a proper flat varnish. I think I'll probably brush that on, and then we'll do some treatments with some pigments and stuff like that. So where are we now? We're on just about an hour. So you know what I'm going to say now, don't you? We're going to call that a day, because I don't like doing videos more than an hour long if I can help it. So that's been part, what's that, 17 was it? Sorry this is going on so long, but a lot of you want to see everything, and I'm showing you everything. So I think we can all agree that's looking lovely, and you can see now that doing that black wash and the pre-shading and everything is now really, really standing out. You can see, if you look at this area here, you can see it. You can see it really sort of coming through, and we got the canvassy sort of wash to it there as well. So and I'm loving the way that roof's looking as well, with the tarnishing around those bits and pieces. We'll get some dust on there and stuff, and we've got the relatively clean interior, which it would have been. So there we go. Don't forget, once we get that down inside there, once we get the windscreen masking removed, you get daylight right through there. That'll look great. So I'll see you all soon for part 18, and I promise you part 18 will be the final. That'll be it. So thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. I think I'll probably leave part 18 until I get rid of this bloody cough. It's doing my head in. So I'll see you soon. Bye for now.